Welcome to the Be Happy Now show. Flex your soul connection muscle and be your inner guide to fulfillment and purpose. I'm Claudia-Sam. If you know that you're here for a bigger reason, this is the place to be. Together, we ditch the self-care guilt and quit the go with less fear and more trust. Tune in to living life in alignment with your full potential. The Be Happy Now show starts now. Hi, and welcome to the episode 102 of the Be Happy Now show. I'm Claudia-Sam, your soul connection coach, and I want to start off this episode by congratulating our latest tune-in program $5,000 US scholarship winner, Paula Clark. I'm so excited for Paula, who says that this is one of these life-changing moments and how it's making the end of her year, and that she's so excited to work together and tune in to her soul self. I am so stoked. So join me in celebrating Paula in this beautiful inner awareness and openings that will be forever there for her to experience life through. So congratulations, Paula. I was just on a conversation with one of my clients that kind of had me want to share this conversation because I feel like it may speak to you as well. So it's about thinking that we need to have it all together. Did you ever feel like that? Whether you were grieving, or you physically were sensing something, or you were going through a move, or there was just a lot of things happening, and some part of you thought that you can't crash, you can't cry that long. You can't stop yourself. If you tumble and fall, you have to breathe and you have to keep it all together. Yeah. Even if we kind of consciously work on not doing that, like if we consciously say, I don't need to have it all together. I get it. I understand that I get to be human and that I can flow in and through the ups and downs and the ebbs and flows. There is still like this habitual pattern, the habitual pattern that is kind of the automatic feeder of the go, the automatic feeder of how to do things. And that is like the springboard, like, oh, you step on the gas. Well, at some point you're going to lift your foot off of it or you're going to break. It's like the automatic of that's just the response. Whatever's going on in my life, the thought of I need to have it all together is kind of the response. And so I want to help you normalize this in a sense that you're not alone in feeling that. Just this week, I think I had this conversation with like 3 people, one of which was my friend who had a tumble on the bike. It's not funny at all because she hurt herself. And what she did is she wanted to break through the fears. And so she went through I have to have it all together. You know, I'm going to let myself cry because it's hurting, and I'm going to stand up and I'm going to get back on the horse. I'm going to get back on the bike and get back into that curve. And she did it. She went back on the curve and she kind of pierced through any bubble of fear that would have prevented her from getting on the bike again. And I don't know that that's exactly like, I don't know that she's saying that she has to have it all together. I don't know that that's her truth. Rather, it's a way that sometimes unconsciously we can think that that's what we have to do or how we have to show up because of this automatic feeder of the belief or of the automatic response. Because maybe there's a belief that if we let ourselves cry, or if we let ourselves feel really vulnerable, that then we will be judged or we will seem weak. I know for myself, sometimes, I'm going to give you an example. I was like on day 1 or 2 of my cycle. So I felt like very vulnerable in a transparent way where I didn't really know where my boundaries were. And I felt a little bit, emotional and fragile. And we were moving from one house to another. So we had to pack. Pierre Michel and I had to, get our stuff together and get ready for the move. And I remember how tired I was physically feeling. When we're menstruating, the body is actually contracting. Like the womb is going, I'm going to close up. I'm going to shut down, like almost that's physically what's happening. So in a way, and I felt myself like I had a hard time opening myself up to do stuff. And so I remember just getting up off the couch. I was hungry. I wanted to take a shower and I wanted to eat and I wanted to pack, but I wanted to actually do nothing. And I walked into the kitchen. I just stopped and I started crying. I just stopped and started crying. And I remember in that moment, I had the choice. I could choose to have it all together, cry silently with my back to Pierre Michel so he doesn't see me. I could, and that was totally an option that was valid that I could have chosen. And what I decided, because I felt it, I felt the resistance or the closing up or the not wanting to receive support and actually wanting to do it all on my own and lone wolf it and trusting that no, I don't need to be seen in this. Like this should only be something that I experience. I shouldn't share it with anybody else. That is that automatic feeder of the belief that you have to have it all together. And in that instant, I remember instead choosing, actually, I'm going to let myself cry and I'm going to let myself be held. And as my energy was softening, he came into the kitchen and all he did was hug me. And in that, I mean, we've been together for 11 years. So we have grown into developing these methods of communication that are easy and that we understand from one another. And in that instant, he said, go have a shower. I will prepare food for you. And that's exactly what happened. And I'm so grateful. I didn't need to have it all together to still be heard and supported and held. I didn't know how to ask for support in that moment. It's like if I was just, my veil was so thin. And thankfully, he knew how to offer up the support. And so in this example, I'm just wondering, what is it like for you if you were to, in an instant, recognize that you have that choice to either kind of energetically contract, therefore close yourself off to any kind of support or any kind of inner evolution or shift in perspective. If you close yourself off, therefore close yourself to being seen and heard and vulnerable to the world, to people who you want to be held and seen and heard and supported from and by, and rather let yourself open up. So instead of like, if you make fists right now and you close your fists and you jam your fingernails in your palms, like any kind of support can't even come in. Like if you were to pour water on your hand, like it might not go through the cracks. But as soon as you start unfurling the fingers, as soon as you start to open up your palm, plural, your palms, then you get to start to receive. And that's a little bit like the difference between choosing to be in the contraction energy of, I'm going to, have it all together. And because I don't want to show myself that I cannot hold myself together in the definition of what I have been having it together up until now to be. So right now, by softening your body, letting yourself be seen by yourself first, letting yourself be seen by yourself first means to recognize that in that moment of, am I going to choose to go for support or be seen or heard, or will I choose to have it all together and close myself up? This gets to be you in full transparency with yourself first. So your ability to see yourself is huge. To first soften the fists and open up your palms and let yourself receive from that place. So I'm curious, if you were to redefine what having it all together looks like, because maybe in the past it has looked like, no, you have to show that you're strong. You have to show that you can bounce right back up and real quick. An example of that is, if you're grieving and you're going through a period of loss, and whether it's you're losing someone or a being that you love, or whether you're having a transition in your life, or whether you're in your period and you're physically bleeding and you are releasing and letting go, and it's a new chapter, or maybe you're don't have a menstruation anymore, and maybe it's like the new moon phase is coming in your energy, and you feel like introverting, you get to let go of some stuff. You don't have to have it all together, quote unquote, based on what the full moon, ovulatory, inner summer, full, shiny, do, go, go self can. So maybe there's a way you can redefine having it all together from being in the ovulation and being in your inner summer and feeling like you can do everything, like everything is on track. And then when you are in your inner winter, menstruating, introverting, cocooning, closing the doors on, like finalizing projects rather, maybe having it all together means allowing that. Maybe having it all together is allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to receive support, to accept that you are a cyclical being, to accept that you will go with highs and lows. And if you don't have a cycle, say you're a man and you don't have a menstrual cycle, there is still the moon and you still have cycles in a 24-hour cycle. There are still light and dark and gray and rainbow areas in your life as well. So can we release the need to have it all together and have that be something that is bad, or that is something that has to be a certain way? Because maybe having it all together means 4 different things according to the 4 different parts of your cycle, or the 4 different seasons. So I guess the discussion went from, letting go of having it all together to redefining what can it look like if it was okay to have it all together, but according to your own rule, according to what it looks like for you, letting it be okay to slow down, letting it be okay to give yourself grace, to not judge yourself if you're going through a transition, or you are having self-doubt and you want to take a bit of space to tune in and to realign out of old patterns of self-sabotage from the ego and realign with your soul self. And that might mean to let yourself feel, let yourself be sad, let yourself maybe reconnect to the full body yes that you were connected to. Maybe having it all together means, oh, right, I remember that I am not just the body. Maybe it's about remembering that actually I'm both the human and the soul, that I am in my humanness, a body, an emotion, like an emotional self, a mental self. I have all these layers. Maybe having it all together is completing the puzzle and bringing all the pieces of the puzzle together so that actually I don't feel like I'm alone on this journey so far away from the soul self. Like there's such a big gap between me and who I really am, because actually everything is inside of you. And so maybe having it all together is just allowing yourself to recognize that it's all inside of you. And sometimes you get to be supported and allowing yourself, giving yourself permission to be both the human and the soul. And that sometimes the human just needs a little bit, or not needs, but sometimes the human, sometimes the human needs just a little bit of a nudge and like, hey, you're also a soul, remember? And it doesn't have to be something that makes you anything less than worthy. Being supported, allowing yourself to utilize the tools in your toolbox, allowing yourself to have a therapist or a coach or a mentor that you go to so that you can really feel like you get to live this life in alignment with who you are and with nobody else's rule book. You decide. So do you want to have it all together? And what would you redefine it that line to be? I'd be really curious what comes up for you. And through this, one thing that came from the conversations and these thoughts is, can not having it all together also mean like releasing the guilt of needing support, releasing the guilt that, oh, right, I have to show someone that I'm vulnerable and that I'm actually human and that life is not always so easy? What if it's like an opportunity to be heard and seen in the fullness of who you are? What if you get to share your heart? What if you get to open yourself up and let someone contribute to the beautiful garden that you are creating within your life? Because sometimes we just have other expertise or things that other people have grown to know more of just from their experience and of their lifespan. Like for me personally, having it all together comes from a workaholic kind of journey, a career journey, where I remember even actually it goes way back to in school and really striving to get the A+ and the best grade and having my questions answered by the teacher and having myself be recognized by the teacher and winning awards and having the certificate to showcase that I can do it. I have it all together. I have these things that fit inside the box. And I got to see that it's actually can be exhausting to do it this way. All to say that while I was doing that, I wasn't learning how to let go. I wasn't learning about my menstrual cycle. I wasn't learning about how the meat I have in my pasta sauce actually comes from a cow. Like I didn't know that consciously until I was like 21 years old. Consciously, I mean, I knew it was an animal. I didn't know the animal was suffering. I didn't know a bunch of things that this isn't what the podcast is about, but I wasn't focusing my time on, or I wasn't put in front of people who knew about that. So my education was different. Like I wasn't going to volleyball classes, so I didn't learn to volleyball that well in my life, let's just say. So if 20 years later I want to learn how to volleyball, I'm going to go to a volleyball coach and I'm not going to try to remember what the game I did and when I was 8 years old looks like, because the way that I evolved was with different expertise and different focuses. And so having it all together is almost impossible because we all have different areas of expertise and areas of growth within ourselves. And so when we think about having it all together, like, can we just make it about us embracing fully the wholeness of the 5 layers of the self of who we are, and then hold a hand out for someone who has practiced that? And for example, this is me after, having it all together and wanting to have it all together, working, go, performance, pressure, name it, waking up, looking at my emails right away, bouncing, bolting out of the door, eventually burning out. You know the story, going to Nepal, waking up with the sun, meditating, yoga. I really developed over 8 years now, almost 9 years, developing that connection with myself. So I would say that now in my life, I'm one of the experts to help you reconnect with your soul self. So if you are at that place where you're trying to keep it all together and trying to understand how it all functions within your body, your mind, your emotions, your energy self, and how and where does the soul self come in, and what's the dance between the ego and soul, you get to open your hand and let yourself be supported by someone who's gone through it, someone who can help you to see it for yourself. But the seeing yourself, seeing you seeing all the layers of yourself, so that you don't have to feel like you have to shut yourself down or you have to do it the one right way like someone else. Because that would be like trying to have it all together, like according to who, right? You don't have to push so hard. You can let yourself be held. And the universe, God, holds us all. And part of what I do with my clients is to help them remember that, help them remember to see their light consistently. Yeah. Okay. So, what will you redefine having it all together? I'd love to hear. I would love to hear, because you don't have to process it all in your head, right? You don't have to have it, you don't have to do it all alone within your human body or with someone who shares beliefs and opinions that may confirm the voice of the ego, right? And that's all okay. You get again to redefine, what does having it all together mean, and do you want to have it all together? And what would it look like if you allowed yourself to receive, to give yourself grace, to give yourself some space to be with any feelings that you're experiencing? Because you are human and your human body is a filter for those emotions. And because the human body is a filter for those emotions, your soul self doesn't want you to close the filter, like no more filtering is available. Or what happens is like it creates an overload in the filter. It can't filter anymore. There's nothing that can go through anymore because there's an overload of feelings that we haven't processed, or an overload of beliefs that have us think that we need to shut down or that we need to run away when things get a little bit aligned, like when things get good. Like I have felt fear of success, and I have meditated and allowed myself to be safe with success and not think that I'm unworthy of it. And that is, continues to be a thing, continues to be an opportunity for me anyway. So this all wraps up, right? In our cyclical beingness, we have the 4 different seasons, the 4 different cycles, and there are also 4 different ways that you could bring grace and gratitude towards yourself, bring compassion, bring openness. And even if like the ovulation, the inner summer, the height of your cycle may be more forgiving and forgiving, you get to receive and give equally throughout the whole cycle. A Course in Miracles says giving and receiving are one. Giving and receiving are one. So let yourself receive new beliefs around having it all together, if you're willing. I'm here to hear you. Thank you for being here. And stay tuned. We are going to announce something really cool soon where you get to feel on track amidst the ups and downs, even when it feels like you having it all together could have you believe that you have to always be on track. And could being on track mean that you're taking the detour? Could that also be it? So stay tuned for that. It's a little secret. Stay tuned for that. Okay. All right. Thank you so much for being here. And why don't you send me a quick note wherever you and I are connected. Make sure to friend me on Facebook or follow me on Instagram at Coach Claudia-Sam and send me a messenger message and tell me what is your redefining, your new definition of having it all together that you're willing to take on. And by sharing that with me, here, I will do that for you. By sharing that with me, I will open up my calendar to coach you for 15 minutes for free. Cool? So send me, what are you redefining the having it all together? What's the new definition? Share that with me. And I will open up my calendar for you to coach you for 15 minutes so that you can keep creating new definitions for yourself and seeing the light when it feels so dark. and accessing your soul self. Okay. Thanks for being here. I'll see you again soon. Bye.
You've been listening to the Be Happy Now show with me, Claudia-Sam. Flex your soul connection muscle and be your inner guide to fulfillment and purpose. You are worthy of being you and of connecting to what stops you from living the life you are meant to live. Access more soul connection coaching at claudiasamcoaching.com.